What's going on today, guys? Alan here for another video, and today we are doing an unboxing of the P3 Cars boost gauge. Now, the guys up at P3 Cars were awesome enough to have me up to their shop. I want to say thanks to Jake for having me up to your shop and showing me around. Got to meet the owner of P3 Cars. I got to kind of see how the gauges are made, got to see a little bit behind the scenes. So it was really cool to go check that out. If you guys aren't following them on Instagram already, make sure to go check them out. They are P3 gauges. So they hooked me up with a little decal. I've already put a couple on my car. They got a little magnet here. And then we've got some pieces here that I'll explain. So inside we have some more decals and whatnot, but here is the actual gauge. Now I wasn't expecting this, but these guys actually hooked me up with a brand new vent pod, so I don't even have to go and do the trouble of checking out how to take all this apart. I already watched a few videos just because I was in preparation for it, but this is going to make install way easier. All we're going to have to really do is kind of pop the old vent out, pop the fascia off, put the old fascia back on this one, and kind of go with it. So we're going to be pretty good to go. But what is really cool, and I also wasn't expecting this, is we got the track pack software. So with the track pack, he said that I will be also able to run air to fuel ratios with this boost gauge. So I'm really excited about that. This is just your connectors here. So if you end up, I don't know exactly what boost pressure I'm running, but he mentioned that if you're over 22.5 pounds of boost, that you're going to actually have to run a boost sensor and do a boost tap, but that can actually read up to 80 pounds on just the stock analog sensor. I think they said you can read 22.5 pounds of boost, so I'm not sure exactly where we are with the Unitronic Stage 2 tune, but we've got all the software here. We've also got a connection, so that way we can hook this up to a dimmer switch and a couple other accessory ports there. So let's go ahead and get started, guys. Alright guys, so what we're going to first start off by doing is you're going to take this little trim piece off here on the side. Try not to scratch it all up, but just kind of jam it in there and take your trim removal piece. If you don't have one of these, I got this one at Menards, or you can get it at like any auto parts store. They're not very expensive. Just kind of work your way around. That clip right there is actually a big time pain to get out, so just take your time, work it carefully. Okay, so once that piece is off, what I'm going to do, just for the fact of making it a little bit easier on me, is I'm going to remove this piece here, and I'm also going to remove this cubby as well, just to kind of make that process a little bit easier. So to remove this, you're going to push in, turn to auto, and that'll pop this out. And you're just going to disconnect. Just disconnect that piece. There's a little piece there. It's a little hard to get to, but just kind of pop that out there. And then for the tray itself down here, where I keep my Obd 11, I'll shove it down here for now. You're just going to kind of push this to one side, and it comes right out. So once we've got that part, we're going to go ahead and remove this vent here to replace it with the... Okay, so what I'm doing now is I'm just kind of reaching out behind and around the vent itself and starting to push it out just to make it a little bit easier. I might actually have to use a trim removal piece to see if I can get it out. Alright guys, so this part here to get the gauge out is a little bit tricky. You're just going to have to keep working at it. It took me maybe 5-10 minutes to just kind of mess with it and get it out. But once you do finally pop it all the way out, there it is here. And luckily for me, I'm not taking this other part apart. I'm just sticking the new gauge in. But if you were taking this apart, you would just pop these little pieces off here on the corners. And then once you get into that, you're going to be popping these two pieces off here. I'll link a video to Paul's video from Shop DAP. He did a very thorough how to take these apart. And I'll link the P3 Cars install as well. Both do a very, very good job on how to actually go through and take this apart. But since I don't have that piece, we're going to do it a little bit easier. So my piece is pre-installed like I showed you before. You're just going to stick this right down in that little piece. There's like a little hole that's about perfect for it actually. Gently push this back into place just to make sure it snaps on all corners around, that it's securely in there. And it is. So now you've got this piece hanging out here. this is where you're going to connect to the actual boost gauge, the track pack edition. This goes down into your Obd port. You guys have seen me talk about the Obd port before in videos, but if you haven't, if it's your first time here, your Obd port is down here. It's a little purple connector, and that's going to plug in there. I'm going to go ahead and loosen up a few of these bolts so that way we can pass this piece right down through there. Don't have to worry about anything. You might actually be able to fit it down. Maybe not. It might be a little tight, but we're going to go ahead and take this piece off real quick. Just a couple screws down here to take that apart. Pull the trim out a little bit, and then we can go and run the wires back up through here and connect that piece there. So we'll go ahead and do that. So guys, what I actually ended up doing was there are 3 T15s down here. One in this spot here, one here, and then one up in this corner here. And I didn't like remove this whole piece. I just moved it enough so that way I could push this Obd port, or this Obd connector down through. And I'm just going to go ahead and plug that in right there. And you can see you don't have to worry about all that extra, like taking the whole thing apart just to squeeze that little bit. All you have to do is just unscrew it and just make it loose enough and just kind of jam it down through there. What I'm going to be doing now is taking this piece up through here and getting ready to connect these pieces together. Now, I've seen in a couple other videos, if you guys can look right into this area here on this metal piece, there's some kind of coating that I've seen on other people's videos saying that the 3M tape, which I added the little piece of 3M tape onto the back of this connector here, but it's a little bit greasy and it doesn't want to stick very well. So my recommendation, if I can find it, is just take a little alcohol swab and clean it up a little bit. And you're just going to take that area and clean it up a little bit. I don't know if it's like a rust inhibitor, so that way it doesn't rust up in this area, but that little piece is awful greasy. Mine wasn't as bad as what some other people's looked like in other videos, but you can see it's got a little bit of a film to it now. We're going to go ahead and take a little microfiber and dry that off real quickly. Now, one thing I won't be doing yet, if you guys are curious in this video, is this green wire here is to connect to your lights, so that way when you turn your lights on, that it'll do the dimness and brightness. I don't have the actual piece to connect into that light switch yet, so I'm going to have to pick that piece up at the store. If you'd like to see a video of how that's done and what's going on, just let me know in the comment section below and I'll gladly do that. But I'm just going to be going ahead and connecting it now, not worrying about these other connectors. As I said earlier, this is for your analog boost, or sorry, not the analog boost, but if you end up running a boost tap into the engine bay, you'll plug the boost tap into here. As I said, I don't know what kind of boost numbers I'm running yet, so that's one reason why we're getting the boost gauge. But we're going to go ahead and connect now. Hopefully that we're not above 22.5 pounds, but if we are, we're going to have to get the boost sensor as well. So might just make one whole video of connecting that piece in if we end up going that way. So we're just going to go ahead and remove this 3M tape here. And first we're going to plug this in to make sure we've got enough slack. And I'm just going to stick it right there. Make sure it's good and connected. Now I'm just going to kind of stuff these wires in and out of the way. Alright guys, what we're going to do now is we're going to test to make sure that the boost gauge comes on. So, and there we have power. So I'm going to go ahead and button this back up so that way you guys can have this all together. Basically just putting it back the same way it was, making sure none of these wires get in the way. I might have to move these wires a little bit just so that tray can go in and function correctly. But I'm just going to plug everything back in and then I'll run you through the functions of the P3 gauge's boost gauge. So we finished it all up, we've got it all buttoned up, everything works again. We've got lights, we've got everything buttoned up. So what we're going to be doing now is the last little bit, so just taking this little piece off. It's so satisfying. Just taking that off. What's neat is you still have complete functionality of your vent. You can still move this around, angle it up and down, turn the vent completely on and off. So that's one reason I definitely want to deal with this. Plus, I love the OEM like stock look of the inside of cars. I'm not big on having big, crazy interiors, painted engine, or all this stuff in here. I just like it nice and simple, little subtle touches, and I think this is great because it matches everything. So we'll go ahead and power the car on, and that way you guys can see what this thing looks like. So when you first turn the car on, it's going to be showing your boost. Right now, we are in vacuum, so it's going to be showing that. If I blurp the throttle a little bit here, you can see, there we go, I'm getting in the boost a little bit more. Now, there's two buttons here. You guys might not be able to see it very well on camera, but you hit the very top far right button, and it's going to move over. So as you go over, the next one is your coolant temperature. It shows you what your coolant is. Then you go to the air intake temperature, which is 125 degrees currently. The next one is your ignition timing. Then you have your exhaust gas temperature. Throttle, so it shows you how much throttle the car is actually getting at the time. Then you have your RPMs. It shows you your active RPMs. Again, if you work throttle, it goes up a little bit more. Speed, obviously we're not moving at this time, so it's showing a 0 for our speed. Something really cool that I'm excited to try out is the 0 to 60 timer on it. So if you launch the car, and it'll time exactly how long it takes to go from 0 to 60. So that's pretty neat. Battery voltage, showing me currently at 13.8, 13.9, right around there. And then finally your AFRs, which shows you your air to fuel ratios. I'm really excited about this. I was wanting to run air to fuel ratios, but I didn't know exactly how to do it. I didn't actually know that P3 gauges offered this, so I'm super excited that it has this option, so I can keep track of my AFRs. I was definitely not one to have the gauges showing and having boost gauges going down as a pod or something stuck on the dash. I'm just not a big fan of that. I like the big OEM look, as I said before, guys. And then finally, if you hit the button again, it's going to go back to our boost. I actually hit it too many times, so we're going back to coolant. But that was a quick little install on the P3 gauges boost gauge for the Mk7 GTI, with it already pre-installed in the gauge, or excuse me, into the vent. So hope you guys did like this video. As I said again, if you haven't already seen these videos before, my name's Alan, and I'd love for you guys to check out some more of my videos. If you guys aren't following me on social media, make sure to check out my social media links here below. And that's about all I got for you guys. Peace out. Take it easy. We'll see you in the next one.